Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 6th, 2025 meeting of the Northampton City Council. I'm Alex Jarrett, and as City Council President, I'll be presiding this evening along with Vice President Rachel Maori. This meeting and all participating in person and on Zoom will be audio and video recorded. The meeting can also be watched on Comcast Channel 15 or by streaming on Northampton Open Media's YouTube channel. I now call the City Council to order. Could you take the roll, please?
Sure. Councilor Elkins.
Here.
I'm sorry, Councilor Dobbs.
Here.
Councilor Jarrett.
Here.
Councilor Clemmer. Here. And Councilor Labarge is not present. Councilor Maori.
Here.
Councilor Moulton.
Here.
Councilor Perry.
Here.
And Councilor Rothenberg.
Here.
Council President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Tonight's highlights include a tax classification hearing, a first quarter financial report, and an order to allow wine and malt license conversion to all alcohol. I also wanted to give a congratulations to the winners of Tuesday's election and also a big thank you to everyone who ran. So we first have a public hearing before we do public comment. This is the tax classification hearing. Per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56, the Northampton City Council will hold a public hearing now, here, to discuss the percentages of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of real and personal property within the City of Northampton for fiscal year 2026. Could I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Move to open.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Moulton, seconded by Councilor Clemmer. Any discussion? Roll call, please, on opening.
Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Elkins.
Yes.
Councilor Jarrett.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Moulton.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
And Councilor Rothenberg.
No.
So that passes with 7 yes votes and 1 no. So I'll now turn it over to Principal Assessor Mark Dotrell. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Good evening, councilors. Good evening, everybody here. I'm Mark Dotrell, Principal Assessor for the city. Here to present the FY26 tax classification hearing. Purpose of tonight's hearing is for the City Council to decide on a residential factor. This will determine if we keep a single tax rate or split the rates. We'll briefly discuss the 3 things that are most integral to calculating a tax rate, which are the levy, the total property valuations, and new growth. We'll also speak about why a single tax rate for all property classifications is recommended by myself, the Department of Revenue, the Board of Assessors, and the Mayor. As Alex just stated, we're here per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56. For state law, we're obligated to hold this classification hearing. City Council, together with the Mayor's approval, shall annually first determine the percentages of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of real property. The City Council, together with the Mayor's approval, shall first adopt a residential factor, which shall be used by the Board of Assessors to determine the percentages of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of real and personal property. As required by law, the City Council shall conduct a public hearing on the question of their adoption, and the Board of Assessors shall provide all information and data relevant for making such determination and the fiscal effect of the available alternatives. The Classification Act passed in 1978 requires cities and towns to classify properties into one of 4 classes per their use. During the classification hearing, the municipality must decide to keep the tax burden equal among the classes or to shift it among the classes. In short, the council is determining whether to have a single tax rate for all 4 property classes or split the tax rate for the different property types. The total levy will still be the same no matter what is decided, and the burden of each class of property will simply be shifted among them. On this, we have the 4 property types, the 4 property classes. Residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property. Residential includes all property containing 1 or more units for human habitation, includes accessory land, buildings such as swimming pools, tennis courts, garages, and sheds, as well as single 1, 2, 3 family homes, small apartments, and large apartments. The commercial class includes any property held for the purpose of conducting a business, such as storage, office buildings, hotels, as well as all vacant land under Chapter 61 land, such as forest land, agricultural land, and recreational land. The industrial class includes any property involved in manufacturing, processing, or extraction. It includes utility, real property used for storage, and generation purposes. Personal property contains all taxable personal property of individuals, partnerships, associations, and certain corporations. A large portion of this class is owned by public utilities. It's essentially a tax on business entities. Here you'll see the total levy as a percentage. 84.41% of the levy is solely in the residential class, compared to 15.59% in the other three classes combined. The residential class has slowly but steadily risen over the years, and the commercial class has slowly but steadily declined. Commercial property class has been steadily declining due to the rise in residential value, the lowering of some commercial subclasses, especially office spaces, and general stagnation in other subclasses. In addition, lack of large-scale commercial or industrial construction projects has contributed to the decline of the commercial distribution, especially compared against residential growth over the last few years. Our specific percentage split is one of the main reasons for choosing to keep a single tax rate over splitting the rate, as it is well below the Department of Revenue's recommended percentage for a split rate community. This pie chart shows the value of each property classification. The total value of all taxable property for FY26 is set to be $5,943,476,676, slightly over $5 billion of that coming from the residential class alone. The second highest class is the commercial class, which only has slightly over $620 million. And the industrial class at just over $155 million, and the personal property class at just over $147 million. So here you see the Northampton tax amounts from property values over the last 10 years. Again, the residential side is slowly but steadily rising. Compared to last year, the value of the property value amounts, the tax from property values is $2.9 million higher, about 4.4%. The commercial value has gone down since FY25 by about 4.6%. Industrial has stayed basically the same, and personal property has increased by 13.3%, primarily due to a sharp raise in the value of utility companies. New growth. New growth is the additional tax revenue generated by new construction, renovations, and other growth in the property tax base during a calendar year. It does not include value increases caused by normal market forces or by simple revaluations. New growth for FY26 is based on new construction, renovations, and additions that occurred between July 1, 2024 and July 1, 2025. Most of the new growth in the non-residential classes was found from personal property, primarily, again, the utility companies. Unfortunately, utility growth is not something we can count on every year, as cautioned by the Department of Revenue, as well as the Residential Research Consultants, who are the largest personal property valuation company in New England. The new growth by classification. This is the new growth value. So $32,147,880 came from residential growth. slightly over $2 million from commercial growth, only $370,100 from industrial class. But the personal property had one of the highest growth years actually the highest growth year I've ever seen in my 9 years I've worked here, at $32,382,210. Again, that is due to the utility companies. New growth is a key component of figuring the levy limit and the tax rate. The current levy limit is figured by taking the previous year's levy limit, adding 2.5% of the previous levy limit to that total, and then adding the new growth totals. The residential growth was down this year, partially due to the lower tax rate, which we'll see on the next slide, but there were also less projects overall compared to 2025. The combined commercial, industrial, personal property growth was the highest it's been since FY23. Again, utility companies. Here, the tax revenue based on new growth was $933,517. So this is the second lowest amount it's been since 2019. The new growth value from the previous slide, despite being the highest value it's been in 10 years, was the second lowest due to our low tax rate. Our tax rate was $13.93 in 25 compared to $15.19 in FY24, which is the lowest tax rate we've had since 2012. The levy limit. The levy limit for Northampton for FY26 is $81,293,602. But the actual levy that will be used is $81,247,326. This is the amount we have to raise through taxes to cover the FY 2026 budget. The debt exclusion is $556,334, which represents 13.67 cents of the tax rate, and the police station, which has its last debt service payment in FY 2032. All right, so here we have single rate versus a split rate. There are three options for the City Council to vote on when it comes to deciding on a residential factor. There's a factor of 1, a factor of less than 1, and a factor of greater than 1. Factor of 1 will equal a single tax rate. The selection of a single tax rate means that all 4 property classes will pay the same exact tax rate. Not the same amount, the same tax rate applied to their overall value. The factor of less than 1 allows the option to shift the tax burden among the classes by reducing the share of the tax levy paid by the residential property owners and shifting to and increasing those taxes on commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayers through the adoption of a residential factor of less than 1. Conversely, a factor of greater than 1 may be adopted, which would have the opposite effect, reducing the share of the tax levy paid by commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayers, and shifting to and increasing those taxes on residential property owners. So if the council decides to vote on a factor of 1, this will result in a tax rate for FY26 of $13.67 per $1,000 of assessed value for all 4 property classes. This is a decrease of 26 cents compared to FY25, about 1.9%. If you look on there, you can see a comparison of Northampton to 9 other local communities. In both categories, to the left is the residential tax rate, to the right is the commercial tax rate. It's also a mix. Some of these communities are single rate communities. Some of them are split tax rate communities. We are second lowest in both categories. Overall, Western Massachusetts, specifically Western Massachusetts, we're in the lower 1/3 of towns when it comes to tax rates. We do not have, and again, I recommend the single rate because we do not have the industrial base or large commercial properties that a city would need to make a split rate feasible. I also want to point out before we switch, I do want to point out Holyoke, Chicopee, Westfield, Springfield, who all have very high commercial tax rates, all have significantly higher residential rates, even with a split rate. Okay. If the council decides to vote on a split tax rate, instead of a factor of 1, there will be a minimum residential factor of 90.76501. This is the maximum allowable shift determined by the Department of Revenue. It would result in a split tax rate, $12.41 for residential property and $20.50 for commercial, industrial, and personal property. Here you also see the average single-family home assessment is set to be $571,800. So that would lead to an average residential tax bill of $7,816.51. With a split rate, that would lower the average single-family home real estate bill by $720.47. Of course, if that happens, the average commercial real estate tax bill will raise from $10,215 by $5,103 to $15,318. The average industrial bill will raise from $13,281 to $19,916, which is a total of $6,635. Here's a representation. You can see the average assessment from FY25 to the average assessment for FY26, and the average real estate bill from FY25 to FY26 with a single tax rate. You can see a snapshot of the whole state here. 2/3 of the state has a single tax rate. That's 225 communities. 112 communities in Massachusetts have a split tax rate that favors the residential classes. Some of those are as low as a 32-cent difference between the residential and the commercial classes, some as high as $21.09. There are 14 communities that have a split tax rate in which the residential class pays higher than the commercial, industrial, and personal property. 8 of those communities are on Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard. So why not a split rate? The main reason I do not favor a split rate, which is the same reason my predecessor and her predecessor did not favor one, is simply the Department of Revenue recommends that the Department of Revenue recommends that a community has a commercial levy base of at least 30%. Our community just has 15.59%. Also, the DOR recommends that businesses be things such as large shopping malls, large power plants, which Northampton does not have. This will also be an increased cost for businesses and increased costs for tenants of commercial property, since almost no business owner in Northampton actually owns their real estate. They will get hit with a double whammy of higher rent and a higher personal property bill. This causes risk of future residential increases if the commercial base plummets. I just want to point back to Holyoke and Chicopee, which have high commercial rates and high residential rates. This will alienate a portion of the tax base, and it can be a deterrent to businesses thinking of expanding into Northampton. So in summary, myself, the principal assessor, the Board of Assessors, the mayor, And the Department of Revenue recommend that the City Council approve a residential factor of 1, which result in a $13.67 per $1,000 valuation tax rate for all 4 classes. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Jarrett, recess.
We will take a 8-minute recess. And what time is it? Anyone know? Okay, 6:58. Welcome back to the Northampton City Council. We are in the middle of the tax classification hearing, and we will first go to questions from the councilors, and then we'll go to members of the public. Councilors, do you have any questions for our principal assessor or the mayor's office? Councilor Moulton.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. The personal property growth that you mentioned, is that largely, and you attributed it to utility, is that largely a function of Gateway Fiber's presence in the city now and the installation of its network?
No, it's primarily Eversource.
Eversource,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Councilor Rothenberg.
Can you share what sort of discussions you've had with our economic development director about this before making your recommendations?
I'm economic. Oh, no. I have had no conversation.
Thank you.
But you have had conversations with the finance director and the mayor, and
Well, yes,
and the
but
economic development team is in the mayor's office.
yes, but this is just not Albert specifically.
Are there any other questions from councilors? We'll have an opportunity after members of the public as well.
Has the finance committee had a meeting on this?
No, but one option is that we can refer this to the finance committee. This is first reading, so typically we would refer and then we vote in 2 weeks. Okay, seeing no other hands. Okay, we'll go to members of the public, up to 3 minutes each. This must be on the topic. This is not regular public comment. This is specifically to the tax classification hearing. Would anyone in person or on Zoom like to speak to this? Come on up.
Can it be just a question?
Yep, but please state your name and city or town.
Thank you. Denise Lello, Northampton. So I'm just curious about what Eversource properties are generating this tax. Like, is it substations or what is it that Eversource is paying tax?
So
That's all.
Yeah, we'll take all the questions and then respond. Councilor Moulton, would you be interested in taking questions that we receive?
Yes, I'll keep track of questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Okay, we'll bring that back. We'll get that question answered. Mark, would you like to speak to that?
So it's essentially with utility growth, we do hire out a third party because it is very complicated, but it is all of the equipment related to the extraction and production of, not extraction, but extraction and delivering and giving of the gas to the whole entire community of 30,000 people. Yes, it's the upgrades.
So it's the upgrades to all of that infrastructure.
It's not. It's upgrades. It's additional products.
Right. Yep.
It's everything they use to service this city.
Yep.
Chief of Staff Wolf.
Since I was asked, I will say that the Economic Development Department strongly recommends that you stay with a single rate. Northampton.
Point of order.
I think that.
Point of order. You were not asked.
Thank you.
I recognize Chief of Staff Wolf.
Northampton does not have the economic profile. I think the principal assessor does an incredible job with this profile, with this PowerPoint explaining all of this, but we just do not have the large corporate base to justify splitting the tax rate. We have mom and pop stores that can't bear the undue burden of a larger tax rate beyond. In fact, the people who own the stores are very much like the residents of Northampton. So, and I think Holyoke's experience in splitting their tax rate, it becomes a road down which you can can never turn back once you split it. So I would really I mean, honestly, this feels like it needs to be considered once a year, but each year I have had great faith in this body to recognize that this is not the right move for Northampton's economy. So that is the opinion of the Economic Development Department.
Councilor Maori? Okay. Your name and city or town, please.
My name is Gwen Nabad, and I live in Northampton. My question is there a property tax on solar-type installations? And is there also a tax on, for example, the new fiber optics that are coming in, or for Comcast? Or is there a different rate for them, or is it there? And then this is another thing that I have always wondered, and I know that it's like kind of a dream of mine, but what makes it not possible to have a progressive tax rate where lower income people are paying less such as our elders, and those who have more are paying more? So those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak? Okay, we'll go ahead and answer those questions. Thank you.
Solar panels are exempt from personal property tax at this moment. Fiber optics, I don't know. I don't know anything about fiber optics. I've never seen it listed on any tax sheet associated with personal property. If they were to be taxed, it would still be the same tax rate. But if you have a single tax rate, all types of property have the same tax rate. It's not the same property amount. That's just, you take, suppose a $500,000 house times $13. A $1 million business times $13. Okay. What was your I'm sorry, what was the Oh,
Progressive.
I don't know about a progressive tax rate. I don't know what to say about that. Huh? Okay, yeah, I don't. So I've never, and the things that we do have for seniors are we have senior tax exemptions for low-income seniors. We have the senior work-off program. We also have the tax deferral for seniors, which allows seniors to defer their taxes back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor Shara.
So we're only allowed to do what the state allows. So that would be a factor of one or a split tax rate. And then there are the exemptions that Mark has talked about that we can provide people, but we're not allowed to tax in any other way than how the state permits us.
Councilor Maori?
May I ask a follow-up to that?
Just turn on your mic.
Of course. So, and that also limits how much our exemptions can be. We don't have full reign over the amount of exemption.
Right, the state sets those parameters.
Right, okay. So I just wanted a comment, and then I did have just a follow-up question. Well, maybe I'll ask a follow-up question about the personal property. Is there a pretty good accountability system? Like, do we know, with something that's owned by a commercial entity, how will we know to tax it? I mean, is it something that they have to list in other places, or is it something that could be missed somehow?
Well, I mean, there are literally hundreds of, businesses, so there's always a possibility that something is missed. That's true in every community in the state. Yeah. But we use a third-party residential research consultants, which are the biggest personal property valuation company in the state, to aid in personal property valuation. They're used by a lot of communities in the state. They do inspections once a year, every year, to try to find businesses. We also have business license applications that we get from the city clerk's office. Also, sometimes we just drive around win pickup businesses that way. And as far as utility companies go, we do hire out a experienced utility company appraiser every year to make sure those numbers are correct. They are very high dollar valuations.
Thank you. And then my comment was, and feel free to add to it if you'd like, is just every year after this presentation, I get a call from residents that think that council is setting the actual value, like the property values.
Not true.
So the rate is the percentage. It's not, this isn't a discussion about the value of your property.
Yes, yeah. The only office that can set values in any city in Massachusetts is the assessor's office, and only within the realm set by the Department of Revenue. So that's correct.
Thank you. I have a question. The question of fiber optics and in the utilities, is the company that we hire aware of the development that Gateway Fiber has done, and are they factoring that in? If you don't know the answer,
I honestly don't know the answer, but talk to me. I'll contact RRC tomorrow. Know the Brian Peltier, who's their main utility appraiser. I'll talk to him tomorrow.
That would be great. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, how does the new utility portion of personal property compare this year to what we've seen in past years? Like you said, it's
far. It's close to twice as high as it was close to twice as high as it was last year. I don't know years before that because I did not research that. I just know that it's much higher than it's been since I've been the principal assessor the last 5 years.
I see. So it seems like it would be fair to say that had we not had this amount of utility growth, our new growth would be much less.
It would be significantly less
than in previous years.
I do think we would have hit our goal of $875,000 in growth, but we would have done it by the skin of our teeth. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Would anyone else like to speak before we go back to the councilors who've already spoken? Councilor Clemmer.
All the construction they were doing on Main Street with and around town Eversource this year, is that increasing our tax rate base for the utilities? Replacing all the pipes and
that I don't know. I honestly don't know. Actually, with pipes are personal property. So if yes, that would actually increase the tax base for personal property.
yeah, maybe it'll be a little less painful
I don't know
when we get.
I don't know totals, but that would.
Yeah, so when we get stuck because they're upgrading our pipes down there, maybe it'll be a little less painful for us because it's increasing our tax base now.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, Councilor Moulton.
So just to be clear, to go back to your point that the new growth in personal property is not something that we can count on. It's not predictable.
Right.
I mean, the newer infrastructure, the upgraded infrastructure, of course, will remain and will remain part of the tax base going forward. But it's not a precursor of new growth at this rate every year.
If it's something that's staying there, then it's not going to be growth.
Right.
If they add, whatever they add to that will be the growth.
Right, but we've seen that increase in growth this year. That will remain as part of the tax base, but we can't foresee that there's going to be the same rate of new growth in future years.
I was warned by the DOR and the RRC folks, not to count on that.
Okay. So I want to echo what the council president said, and I would like in 2 weeks to hear back about Gateway Fiber. I mean,
Yes.
either they're now part of the tax base, or why their equipment, their fiber optic system, is not subject to.
It is according to Chapter 8.
Okay.
So a quick search looks like it is, but we will get that answer to you
Okay.
along with the other.
Thank you.
Any other questions during the public hearing? We will also take this up when we get to orders. But while our principal assessor is here, it'd be great to ask our questions now if we have them for him. Okay, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Moulton and seconded by Councilor Clemmer. Any discussion? Roll call, please, on closing the public hearing.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Rothenberg,
No.
and Counselor Dubbs.
Yes.
Okay, that passes with 7 yes votes and 1 no. That brings us to public comment. If you wish to make a public comment, you can sign up at the sheet at the podium. If you're on Zoom, you can use the raise hand feature. If you're having trouble raising your virtual hand, you can turn on your video and physically raise your hand. If you want to submit a written public comment, you can email it to citycouncil@northamptonma.gov. It will be sent to all councilors and will be part of the public record. So I'm going to alternate between people in the room and people on Zoom. And before you begin, please state your name and your city or town for the public record. To ensure everyone has an equal opportunity to speak, the council limits comments to a maximum of 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, we will ask you to please finish your sentence. We do not respond during public comment. According to our rules, it is your time to speak. And our rules also state that councilors and members of the public shall conduct themselves with civility and respect at all times. Finally, you can speak on any topic. It doesn't need to be an item on the agenda, and all comments are to be directed to the council. First person. Sorry, should be on mic. First person is Denise Lello.
Good evening. My name is Denise Lello. I live in Northampton. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am speaking tonight in support of a resolution that I submitted in support of legislation to allow municipal participation in the transition to clean energy. Given that the City of Northampton is committed to reaching net zero emissions by 2050, these bills that have been submitted or proposed in the legislature provide a great opportunity for cities to engage with utilities and the DPU to move forward toward that goal. The funds that the gas utilities are currently spending to replace pipelines will place burdens on taxpayers and ratepayers long after they have been retired. This is an environmental justice issue since more affluent ratepayers will shift to clean heat, while those less affluent will remain ratepayers burdened by these charges. The GSEP, or Gas System Enhancement Program, is partly responsible for this. It rewards utilities for replacing pipelines, a very expensive alternative. My neighborhood electrification would be more efficient and less costly than replacing pipelines at this point. The bills that the resolution support would give the city an opportunity to be involved in the planning process for a phased transition off methane. I was able to see the GSEP plans that Eversource produced last Friday for Northampton. They were required because their earlier, by the DPU to do this, because their earlier plans did not really identify any pipelines for retirement. Through 2030 on these new proposals under GSEP, Eversource has not designated any pipeline segments as candidates for pipeline replacement alternatives, even though some of the segments are along streets with very few buildings that have not already been electrified. So I hope you will support this resolution that will signal to the governor and legislature that municipalities, including Northampton, would like a coordinated effort among utilities and local governments to move toward a carbon-free future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is announcements from councilors and the mayor. Are there any announcements? Okay, Mayor Shara.
Good evening, councilors. Just wanted to update you that I was today at the One Stop for Growth Award ceremony in Palmer with the Lieutenant Governor and the new Economic Development Secretary, Polly, and other mayors and municipal leaders. And just to let you know, Northampton was represented there because of our housing choice designation, which recognizes cities and towns that demonstrate certain levels of housing production and adoption of pro-housing practices. And this designation gives us access to the Housing Choice Grant Program, and we get priority consideration for various housing choice participating programs, which includes infrastructure and environmental grants. But we were also there because we were awarded access in refundable state tax credits through the Massachusetts Vacant Storefronts Program, which we've talked about many times. So this is to help attract and support businesses that are moving into storefronts that have been vacant now for 6 months or longer. It used to be a year or longer, but now it's reduced to 6 months or longer. We've been part of this program for a few years, and we were an approved vacant storefront district, but there have been changes in the program, and it's now come under the One Stop. So past recipients of the MSVP are Many Graces Farm and Design for Sub Rosa, Assemble, and also Toasted Restaurant. So people who are looking to start a business and are interested in participating in the Vacant Storefront Program should check out the details, which are under the Economic Development section under the mayor's section of the city website, northamptonma.gov. And feel free to contact us about eligibility, timing, and any of the documents that you need to apply for that. But we encourage people interested in starting businesses to apply. Thanks.
Thank you. Would any committee chairs like to announce their upcoming meetings? Councilor Clemmer?
Just grab the date. I'm really excited to have Rep. Sabadosa speak at Community Resources on Monday, November 17th. It's a 5:30 meeting, and it's hybrid. And she'll come like she did last year and tell us what's going on and what she's been up to and answer questions.
Thank you. Councilor Perry?
Yes, and the Ordinance Review Committee will be having a public forum on next Wednesday, November 12th. We're going to look at the food truck ordinance as well as just kind of lightly touch the lighting ordinance as well. So that'll be from 6 to 8 on Zoom. There'll be a link and agenda posted soon, and we invite everyone to come and talk about it. There'll be a number of folks here to have a good conversation.
Councilor Moulton.
Thank you. I think this might have been mentioned at the last meeting. The City Services Committee will have a meeting. Our next regular meeting is December 1st, and we've invited Commissioner O'Leary and other staff from the Department of Health and Human Services to report on the Community Health Needs Survey. That will be a meeting at 4 o'clock on December 1st here in the council chambers.
Thank you. Councilor Elkins.
Yes, thanks for recognizing my beep. Yes, Legislative Matters has a meeting on Monday, the 10th. Is that correct, Laura?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and I believe it's 6:30.
5:30.
And 5:30. Okay, sorry, I'm driving, everybody. 5:30. We don't. It's there. I think we just have a few things that have been referred to over the last couple of meetings. It's not going to be a riveting meeting, but it is on the agenda, and we'll be taking up those things that have been referred to as the last few meetings.
Thank you. And I would argue with that. I think it will be a riveting meeting as we will be discussing the bus stop ordinance changes, among others.
Right. I bet it's going to be amazing and riveting.
Thank you. Any other, Mayor Sherrigan?
Apologies. This is something that Councilor Labarge always announces, but in her absence, I will do it. I want to make sure that people know that the Veterans Day Parade is Tuesday, November 11th. So you can begin assembling at 10 a.m. at the VFW, and then we step off at the VFW at 11 a.m. and go to Trinity Row Park, and then where there's a ceremony that will take place, and then we will disband at Trinity Row at 12 p.m. So please come join us and honor our veterans.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Councilor Rothenberg.
I will be joining singer-songwriter Mayor Berger, who has a beautiful suite of songs about Palestine, on Saturday at 5:30 at the Hidden Temple in Florence. I hope you can make it. She'll also be at the Parlor Room in January.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to presentations. We have the first quarter financial report. This is a presentation by Finance Director Charlene Nardi.
Good evening, everyone. So we are 25% through the year on these reports, and a quick review shows that we are on track with our budget projections. That means we have collected 25% of our revenue, and we are in line with our expenditures. In reviewing the revenue, we will first look at the personal property and real estate tax revenue. As you can see, we are at 26.2 and 24.8% respective. Let me get rid of this. Hold on. How do I move you? So I can see. Yes. So that's basically where we are usually at this point in the year. Motor vehicle, you can see, is at 9.9%. And as we've talked about before, the excise bills go out in February. That is called the first commitment and consists of vehicles that were registered as of January 1st of that year. It consists of about 20 to 22,000 bills. There are 6 to 7 more commitments throughout the year from March to December. So what you're seeing here, the amount of, I'm sorry, I lost my place, where the amount of $323,000 is one of those other commitments. That's just a small commitment. Someone has registered vehicles during that time after the January 1st. Looking at the hotel motel revenue at $353,803, that's at 36.3% of the budget. It's up $53,572 or 17.8% from the same time last year. However, it is slightly lower than we were at this time in FY 2024. And reminder, we raised this budget line by $100,000 or 11.4% over FY 2025. The meals revenue, we're at $216,084 or 28.9% of the budget, which is $5,449 or 2.5% greater than last year at this time. That is 7.1% higher or $14,338 more than the first quarter of FY 2024. And we'll see this when we show the other PDF, which makes it a little clearer where we were in the years prior. This budget line was increased by $23,000 or 3.2% over FY 2025. Cannabis revenue is at I don't know if I have that one right. Let me look. Cannabis revenue is at $238,380.99. It's 36.5% of the budget. Excuse me, I'm looking at 36.5% of the budget, and it's 49% less than last year at this time. So it's a decrease over the same time period of about 17%. We increased this budget line by 22% or $163 over last year. The pilots section, as you can see in the bottom of this section, they're all zeros. That is because they are actually, pilots are based on the tax rate once it's set and based on the written agreements. So we will see that money come in after December, in between December and June. Ambulance services, the same in that, no, parking revenues. Let's start. Parking revenue starts in the bottom of that. Collectively, the first quarter are at $478,475, or 31% of the budget. This is $69,000 more than the first quarter of FY 2025 overall. The overall budget is $1.525 million. That's an increase of $238,000, or 23% over FY 2025. In that same grouping, ambulance services, and I'm sorry, let me change here. The top here, ambulance services, we are on target at $908,478, or 25.9%. This budget was increased by $412,000, or 13.3% over the last year. So last year we set it at 3.1. This year it's set at 3.25. Charges for services, page 2. We'll just take this whole section as a group. If you exclude Smith Vocational and Agricultural High School revenue, which is their tuition, that's billed 3 times a year and gets passed directly to the school. So that's almost at zero. I think there's $5,000 in there. If you remove that, we are at $394,000 is the actual budget. We're at $162,191 for collections. So overall, this budget line, we're at 41% collections. The drivers of that high increase are collector fees associated with the collection of taxes, which are not predictable, and admin from the police details, which are higher due to the many road work projects that Eversource has ongoing. And the final one in this section is building inspection fees. That is actually the full yearly assessment for building inspection services in Williamsburg. So that line will not go up the rest of the year. And then for licenses and permits, you will see the percentages are a little bit all over the place. These activities resulting in collections, the activities for resulting in collections for these items don't operate on a clearly quarterly basis. They are permits, so revenue can be seasonal and based on how much construction, planning, and changes are being made. For instance, liquor license revenue comes in during the second quarter as renewals are happening right now. The building, plumbing, and wiring inspections are all below 25% and are lower in revenue dollars than the previous year. Building and plumbing are lower in dollars than the 3 years prior for the same time period. So I just want to make note of that. This may or may not be an indicator for the economy if these stay lower, but springtime will really be the key of where we see those lines. Overall, the category is $100,000 less than the same time period last year, and it is at 17.6% of the budget. We increased this budget category by 15%, or $194,000 over FY 2025. Federal revenue, that's the Medicaid reimbursement. That won't come in until later. And again, I just want to remind folks that these funds in their entirety get transferred by an order presented to City Council to the Northampton Public School Special Education Stabilization Account. So this next category, the state revenue, carries over into the next page. We're at 24.5%, which is where we expect. These are the the state cherry sheet numbers. Those come in when the state give them to us, so they are right usually on the quarterly basis. And then the next section has parking tickets. It's fines. That is at 34.5% of the budget projection. This is in part a bit high because there are some June receipts that were booked after the quarter ended, last quarter. They were booked into this quarter, so we're a little higher than we expected. We increased this line for the budget by $138,000 or 23.7% over last year. So overall, this category is running at 34.6%. And then the last category, miscellaneous receipts, are overall at 28.7%, with interest on investments at $696,867.37. This is different than the first report that you saw. That was because the interest revenue for the month of September had not been entered into the system. It has now been entered, and I think, Laura, you updated the agenda with the newest information. So overall, things look good for revenue, and we are on target. If you remove the motor vehicle and you remove Smith Voc, which kind of skew the percentage, we are exactly at 25% of our revenue collections. And then going to the enterprise section for revenue, sewer is at 32.1% of the budget. And as you can see, sludge disposal is unusually high, which means there are a lot of activity for septic pumping and campers pumping. Director LaScalia expects that this will slow down over the winter. The rates are at 30%, and that is because, as we've discussed, Coca-Cola is still operating at 40% of its peak usage until the end of calendar year 2026. Sewer-based charges are right on target at 25.5%. Looking at water, you'll see a similar trend. The rates are at 31. Can everybody see? Let's get up there. Rates are at 30.1%. Because Coca-Cola remains, again, at a lower capacity, but they're still bringing in giving us some revenue, and the water-based rates are on target at 26.1%. Stormwater is on track at 27.1%, and solid waste is slightly higher at 43.1%, and that is because stickers are front-loaded, and as you can see, the trash bag sales are right on target at 25.8%. So enterprise revenue is tracking as expected. The next, and I have this share thing there. There we go. I can never get there. Sorry, my share screen is stopping me from moving to the next one. Anybody got it?
You click on it.
No? Can I move it? Oh, there we go. Okay. Cancel. Oh, you sneaker. Oh, there we go. All right, general fund expenses. It's really early in the year to say much about these, but a quick look shows that all lines are on target, meaning overall nothing is very concerning. PS is slightly behind because we get paid after we work the time. So OM lines don't necessarily work on a quarterly schedule either. If you look at that last column, those that are above the 25% are generally above because of one-time payments such as dues, software licenses, that kind of stuff, or the activities that happen earlier in the year. But generally, expenses are tracking as expected. The PS line should be at about 22 or 23% based on the pay periods. Those that are less have to do with, there are overtime, lines in those departments that have not been used, and stipends. So that would make it lower, or there are vacancies. And then the final for, if I can get to, Now I've lost it entirely. No, that's revenue. All right. And then the sewer enterprise funds, those are tracking as expected. Again, PS percentages are low due to the vacancies. They have 17 vacancies. The water and sewer treatment plants are fully staffed. It is the water distribution and sewer collection positions that have been slower to fill because they require CDL licenses. The OM budgets are generally low due to carryovers and carry forwards due to ongoing projects. And also because we have not taken out the indirects, which support the general fund budget yet. That will be done after the tax rate is set. And then if we go to the last PDF, which we talked about, I want to get a little higher. Can you see that? Okay. You can compare actually where we are in the excise taxes from prior years, the same time this quarter. And as I mentioned, when you look at the meals, we're at 216. This time last year we were at 210. And then, this is in my way. Can you get out of the way? In 2020. Yeah, 2025 is at 210 at this time, and in 2024, it was at 201. And you can do this, with each of them kind of to look at where we stand. And as you can see, traditional hotel lodgings is going up. But it is less than it was is higher than it was in 2025, but it is lower than it was in 24, excuse me. So, are there any questions?
I have a question, which is the adjustment. I appreciate that you adjusted the revenue to take out the motor vehicle excise and Smith Voc. Is there an equivalent for expenses? Because I know I've seen. Sorry. Maybe,
yes.
Would you mind just stopping the screen share?
Yes.
Yeah,
So yes, there is. If you look at, I have to pull it back up on mine. Yes, and you did ask me for that. If you go to, if you remove capital projects, if you remove the capital projects and the contributory retirement budget, you're at 22.9%. So while the general overall shows 26.4, when you remove those two things, we're actually at 22.9% of expenses.
And how much of that would increase once payroll is properly factored?
2 weeks, it's about $2 million. So maybe 0.5% or 1%. So it'd be closer to 24%.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think I saw Councilor Maori and then Councilor Moulton.
Yeah, just remind me, how long have we had the new practice of adjusting the estimations of revenue?
Adjusting them by removing these things, is that what you mean?
No, just making them tighter so that we have, to feed the general, so we don't have as much fluctuation. Didn't we start that last year at this time? 2 years ago?
We adjust them every year. But
We do adjust them every
I know.
year upwards. So every year they do grow, but we really started doing it more aggressively in 2025. But we did it in 24, we did it in 25, and this is the second year of really pushing them more.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Very
very
aggressive.
aggressively for
2020.
26.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Moulton.
Yes, actually, following up on Councilor Maori, one of the categories that was aggressively pushed was interest on investments, correct?
Yes.
So that figure now has been updated to, I just want to make sure I've got this correct, it's 696,867.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
up-to-date figure.
For the quarter, yep.
For the quarter. And what is the updated percentage? It was at 22.3?
It's at 33.5%.
33.5, okay. So it's actually then exceeding what you had projected.
Yes.
Okay, so you feel that the aggressive, your aggressive projections are, at least in the first quarter, are bearing out?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But just to note that that extra money right now is making sure that we hit the target of 25% overall.
And also just to note that there have been that the Fed has cut interest rates twice this fall. But so 2 percentage points.
Yeah.
Thank you. Other questions? Councilor Rothenberg.
I have a couple of questions and some comments. Why is the property tax collection rate lower right now?
So lower than 25%?
Lower than last year, which was about 0.5 percentage higher.
It depends when people are bringing in their tax rates. I don't have an exact answer why it's different than last year, but we're right on target. Those are about the percentages that we have annually.
It adds up quite a bit because it's an $80 million line item, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the personnel reserve, why is that still there? Have we settled all the contracts?
No.
What is still outstanding?
The NAPIA contract.
And does that account for the total amount of personnel reserve that's still there? Or has that figure been adjusted?
I have not touched the personnel account.
So there's some surplus there because other things have been settled, right?
No, I have not used it yet. I have not moved any of the money that will need to be moved once they're all settled.
Got it.
We won't do that until probably after the new year.
So comments on this, as far as having pushed reserves so aggressively, it looks very good. It looks very healthy. Some things look like they still could be pushed more. Your licenses and permits, like you said, could be an indicator of the economy, right? They were low in Q4, they're low in Q1, but last year they still finished at 135%, and they're only 0.5 percentage lower right now. Ambulance is right on track at 25, but usually gets a big push in Q2. Interest, as you said, is very high at 33.5. Cannabis looks like it's estimated well to me. That was severely underestimated before. I don't have concerns about that. Rooms and meals looks like it will still have a similar surplus to last year and could be pushed more. And motor vehicle excise, of course, is so seasonal, but it's still higher than it was at this point last year. So where I see it lower, I'm not concerned because that's where it seems like we still have a lot of wiggle room traditionally. And so I'm very glad that you made some changes to push the revenue.
There are other questions from councilors. Okay. Councilor Moulton.
I just wanted to give others an opportunity before I spoke again. I do think that the meals, the hotel, and the short-term rentals are generally looking good and looking on target. I do have concerns about cannabis, however. As Director Nardi noted, it's down 17% from the same quarter last year, and in fact, we've now had 2 straight quarters of decreased revenue on the local taxes from cannabis. We started out this year on a high of 307,948, but it is now down 238,381. So the lesson I feel that I've taken from 4 years of these reports is that there's a lot of volatility, and you can't count on any trend. We saw a trend downward after the pandemic, we saw a trend upward, and now we've had 2 straight quarters of decreased cannabis revenue.
Councilor Maori.
I was just curious, are those dips seasonal? Do you see a pattern in the dips in the cannabis revenue?
If you look at that PDF that compares 4 years,
Yeah.
no, I'm not sure there's a pattern.
I don't see a pattern.
Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
There is a low-price competitor that has entered the market near the Dunkin' Donuts on the Holyoke and East Hampton line that is undercutting pricing for a lot of cannabis retailers locally. Who knows how that will play out, but that may be depressing some pricing that is affecting sales and then, of course, our revenue on those sales.
Thank you. Councilor Maori.
I thought that was a sister business with a Northampton business. Am I?
I honestly am an inch deep here, but I do know that some have complained that low pricing is cutting into some of their ability to get higher prices for products that they've tried to brand as more fancy. But actually what I had heard is that it's a national operator that has multiple operations across states and can come in and take a loss here to try and push out some locals.
So it's not may I ask a follow-up? It's not necessarily that a business has closed its doors, but that just the volume. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would add, I also appreciate that you have pushed revenues and been able to support the operating budget further. But it is our goal, as it is in municipal finance, to generate a surplus. However, that surplus is expected to be smaller. I think it's probably too early in the year to have a good understanding of what the surplus will be, but it would be great to track that when you feel like you have enough information to be able to look at what our free cash surplus might be. Anything else? Okay. You have a question?
Just comment,
Yeah,
just to
go
close it out. I mean, it really looks very consistent and very healthy to me. I think you're still going to have large surpluses, but you'll follow that through the year, or the next council will. You also look like your expenses are still coming in high.
Thank you.
In other words, meaning the estimates are high, so that will generate surplus also.
I think they're right at 25 right now, but we also do have the things you excluded, right? The motor vehicle excise, and depending if that comes in higher, of course, that will bring us above 50 or 75 later. Yeah.
I have 26 and a half. Is that what you have? 26 and a half?
No, so that's if you include the motor vehicle excise, and there's a note at the very bottom of the revenue.
We're on expenses.
If you remove the motor vehicle excise and the Smith vocational, it's right at 25%. Sorry,
revenue.
you're on expenses, not revenue. Yeah, so that was
26.4, but when we remove contributory retirement and the capital projects, which we're really at 22.9%.
and
then you
we
asked
add in
me
the payroll, or at
you probably be
23
23 point something percent.
Right.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this will be the last quarterly report that I speak on as a counselor, but for all of the talk that we had about how risky it was last year to push these revenues, I want my last word on behalf of Ward 3 to be, it does not look like it has played out to be risky. It was a wise and prudent decision to make more money available for the operating budget.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. We will move on to the consent agenda. I'm going to read the items on the consent agenda and then ask if there are any removals. They are the minutes of September 30th, 2025 and October 16th, 2025, And 25.329, in order to authorize payment of prior year invoices for Northampton Public Schools. Are there any removals? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion made by Councilor Moulton and seconded by Councilor Clemmer. Roll call, please, on approval of the consent agenda.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Rothenberg.
Yes.
Counselor Dobbs.
Yes.
And Counselor Elkins.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Next is financial orders on first reading. We have 25.333, in order to establish a tax classification for fiscal year 2026. And ordered that the Northampton City Council approves a residential factor of 1 for fiscal year 26. So this was the subject of our public hearing earlier. And if there are any other questions or discussion, we can do that. And then we will need to refer this to the consent agenda of our next meeting or to finance. Councilor Rothenberg.
I think given that there hasn't been much discussion, it should be referred to finance, so I make a motion to refer.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made by Councilor Rothenberg and seconded by Councilor Dobbs to refer to finance. Discussion on referral to finance.
I'm just reviewing in my head our last few years on finance. We did take it up to finance last year, or the year before, or
I don't recall it ever being referred to finance during my 4 years.
yeah, I think we did it one time. So we were kind of doing it every once in a while as an educational tool, but it will also go back to the agenda this time as well. So I was just checking in with my finance chair.
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair. I just promoted you. Congratulations.
You won Tuesday as well.
Well, if you're checking in with me,
Yeah.
my thought is, I've asked the questions, I've asked for additional information, which we've asked for to come back to us at our next council meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't have any other questions that require another meeting to explore. So I would not refer it. I would vote against referring it.
Right. I don't have any questions either. That's why I was checking it.
Yeah, my question would be, what are the questions that we would be looking at in finance?
I think you should be making opportunities available for the public, particularly those who have expertise in economic development, to talk about this, to talk about what the future of Northampton could and should look like, what we could aspire to in terms of tax rates if we were really talking about economic growth and a strategic plan as a community. I think it's an important conversation to have.
And specifically in terms of because the only purpose of this is to set the residential factor, so that it's do we want to shift the tax burden in one direction or the other?
Yes, I think that's directly tied to your economic development plan.
Thank you. And would anyone else like to speak before we go back to?
Councilor Jarrett?
Yes, Councilor Elkins.
Yes, hi. I just want to weigh in as another member of the Finance Committee that I don't see a need to refer this to finance. I also don't have questions, and if there are members of the public who want to speak to this, they certainly will have another opportunity at the second reading. So I think if the new council wants to take this up and look at it more in depth next term, that's fine. But I feel like the members of the Finance Committee are well versed on this issue and don't need pressure. So I'd be a no vote for this referral.
Thank you. Councilor Maori.
I was just going to add that those are worthy conversations, but I think that's a separate issue than this item. So I concur with my committee. That's something, you can certainly bring for forums that engage the public on issues that you've named, Council Rothenberg. But in terms of this agenda item, I don't feel it's necessary for it to take a pit stop before coming back and exploring, and unpacking it more with our counselors at our next meeting.
Councilor Moulton.
Yes, and in terms of opportunity, we just had a public hearing on this tonight. And I will certainly support removing it from the consent agenda on November 18th to get further information from the principal assessor. And there will be more opportunity then for discussion. So I think there's ample opportunity. It
November
does not require a meeting of the subcommittee with no specific questions put to us.
November 20th. Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes, the next council meeting, November 20th.
Councilor Perry.
Yes, so I agree too that there should be some discussions for the future as we look forward. But I also agree that maybe this is something that the next council could look at, because right now this question for us is what we're living in here. And I will tell you that we do not have the commercial base to support, I believe, switching it. And I've recently worked in both Holyoke and Springfield and seen some of what is happening there. So I think that with the questions that were asked before, if we can get some answers to that, that'll help. And then we have a couple more weeks I would like to have a discussion, but I'm uncertain if you guys in finance really need to have a separate meeting for it at this point.
Anyone who hasn't spoken? Councilor Dubs.
Yeah, I was just going to, since I seconded on that motion, I just wanted to clarify that having heard from other members of the Finance Committee, I feel like I'm comfortable with the consent agenda at the next meeting.
Thank you. Councilor Maori.
Yeah, just going off of what Councilor Perry was saying, I think it was actually more of a community resources kind of conversation if we're talking about, I mean, when I look at this, I think I wish we had more commercial and industrial base to draw from, and that's a different conversation. And actually, I find that, just as my residents think that we are setting property values, that expanding this agenda item is not the expansion we need. It's the conversation about how to get to a place where we can discuss, a different tax classification. So thank you for saying that. And I think we've actually done forums like that in the past around economic development. But thank you for that, Councilor Perry.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yeah, Mark had addressed the commercial property, and he said he likes to see 30, or, the standard is to see 30% of commercial property in a city to have a split rate, and we have half of that. So, and we're trying to draw in businesses too and support them for the next few years. So, to me, it seems like, not taxing them heavily taxing them heavily would not be wise at this point. And so I'm happy with just putting it on the next meeting and talking about it then if there's more questions. And of course, people are available too in between to talk to if I'm sure Mark would answer questions if things came up between now and the next meeting too. So I'm comfortable with just putting it on the next agenda for the council meeting.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Councilor Rothenberg.
I'm happy if Councilor Dubs wants to withdraw so that it doesn't get voted on. I don't think it makes a difference.
Is there sorry.
I am not surprised that this council doesn't think it's the right time or the right issue. I think generally the City Council's Finance Committee needs to be much more engaged.
Is there unanimous consent to withdraw the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Motion is withdrawn, and I would entertain a motion to refer to the consent agenda.
Move to refer to the consent agenda for November 20th.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Moulton and seconded by Councilor Maori. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Maori.
Yes. Wait, what was the motion now? We're repeat, what are we, what's the?
We're referring to the consent agenda of our next
Right,
meeting.
yes.
Which then we can remove it.
Right, they have to, and then we vote on the removal? No.
No, any one person can
Okay,
remove
all
from
right.
the consent agenda.
Counselor Moulton.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Rothenberg.
No.
Counselor Dubbs.
Yes.
Counselor Elkins.
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett.
Yes.
And Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Okay, that passes with 7 yes votes and 1 no. Next, we are come to orders, and in second reading, 25.330, an order to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12D, to allow wine and malt license conversion to all alcohol. And would the mayor's office like to add anything since we discussed this 3 weeks ago?
I don't think so. I think, Council President, you had sort of the remaining question, and I don't know if you were able to connect with Commissioner O'Leary or not, but.
Yes, I did. I spoke with Commissioner O'Leary about the public health implications of this order, and she reported that the data does not show additional negative impacts from conversion of wine and malt to all alcohol licenses.
I have a question, President Jarrett.
Yes.
Is this matter a conflict of interest for Counselor Perry?
The State Ethics Commission or our city attorney could answer that question.
Would Counselor Perry like to answer the question?
Where would I see a conflict here?
Do you work as a bar manager from time to time?
I have, and I do work in the industry. I currently don't have any licenses to change into.
Point of order.
A point of order.
Whoa.
Counselor Elkins?
Point of order. It is the individual council members' obligation to identify and recuse if necessary. It is not the prerogative of other counselors to cross-examine, without evidence to support. So, Counselor Perry, if he feels he needs to recuse, he should do so. But if he does not, this is not an inquiry for the decision.
I agree with your point of order. And let's move on. Were there any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Counselor Rothenberg.
Counselor Elkins, I was responding to a question which lawyers do not do in cross-examination.
I really don't understand that. Counselor Maori.
I just wanted to thank you for following up with the health commissioner. That's interesting information, and I appreciate expanding our conversation about these issues to encompass public health. I will say, personally, I find there is a tax to myself if I go from wine to a harder alcohol, but I'm glad that the general health of the community, that there won't be a negative impact, so I will be supporting this.
Would entertain a motion to, Counselor Perry?
Yeah, I wanted to speak upon that as well, because in order for some establishments to sort of go around these rules, there have been a number of introductions for liqueurs, which are higher proof, so more sugary. There's a bunch of loopholes that folks have been trying to push against, which I think are a little less healthy for the additives. So, and I also, as I said before, I'm in support of this because it has been very prohibitive for restaurants and businesses to be successful. We've watched as places, like I said before, Wine Witch couldn't establish themselves. It is very difficult in this industry as we talk about the volatility of other places like cannabis, but our restaurants are still hurting. It's hard to get staffing for restaurants, and food costs are going up, delivery costs are going up. So I think anything we can help as we talk about looking at building our business and our commercial rates, that this is a good step in the right direction. And I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Perry and seconded by Counselor Moulton. Any further discussion? Counselor Moulton.
Yes, I spoke in favor of this 3 weeks ago, and I continue to favor it. I just wanted to ask the mayor's office, does this then, if approved tonight, take effect immediately, or is there a waiting period? Thank you. In other words, what I'm asking is, once we approve this, should we vote that tonight, restaurants which hold wine and malt beverages then could be expected to go to the License Commission with their applications?
I would think so because it's already been passed by the governor. But thank you for your point, which is that it still has to go through the process with the License Commission.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they still maybe need to set some of their own regulations around it as well.
Yeah, there are fees associated with this conversion.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that they have determined what the fee would be yet, so I think they need to do that.
Okay, roll call. Oh, Counselor Rothenberg.
I'm not comfortable having deliberated with someone who I do think has a conflict of interest, and so I will be abstaining.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Moulton.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Rothenberg.
Abstain.
Counselor Dobbs.
Yes.
Counselor Elkins. Maybe having technical thumbs up. Okay. Counselor Jarrett.
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
And Counselor Maori.
Yes.
I wasn't looking at the screen, so I'm assuming he could see a gesture. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
I see.
okay.
I apologize. I
Let's
thought
go
you were
back to.
indicating that Counselor Elkins was assenting. Counselor Elkins, are you?
Yes, I voted yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, that passes with 7 yes votes and 1 abstention. That brings us to our second order, 25.337, an order to approve the, is it JSKI? APR?
Jasky.
JASKI APR. And I believe, do we have someone from the planning office here? Sarah LaValle. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. So agricultural preservation restrictions are tools for the protection of open space and agricultural land. APRs are permanent preservation restrictions. These are signed on by the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources, so they are in perpetuity, even though this one is intended to be a local APR held by the Conservation Commission. They can be donated or purchased, but since they involve a significant reduction in property value, payments up to the difference between fair market value and agricultural value are typically required. The state does have a cost share program for priority APRs in areas with clear development value. The Meadows is unfortunately not a great candidate for state APRs because the prime threat to farmland here is conversion to other uses and not to actual development. But the state is supportive of this local APR and has indicated that they'd be happy to sign it as soon as we get all the approvals and get everything straightened out. So that's an overview, and I'm happy to answer any questions or talk more about APRs in general or this one specifically.
So this is 13.8 acres in the Meadows, and that will remain in agricultural use in perpetuity. And then the price, so we're just holding the restriction. We're not putting out any money. Right?
So in this case, this acquisition of an APR will be funded by Community Preservation Act funds that have already been dedicated for this purpose. So $58,100 is what we have an agreement with the Jeske family on, and that is less than the difference between developable value and agricultural value, and he's indicated that he'd like to donate that back to the APR program to encourage other farmers to put APRs in their properties as well.
Great, thank you. Councilor Maori.
Yeah, I was just wondering about when the definition basically of agricultural preservation. agricultural preservation, does that include solar, multi-use with solar, or is solar not part of that?
It can. So the state APR program does recognize dual-use solar. In this instance, the property owner does not want that, so that will be specifically prohibited for this APR only.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions, Councilor Moulton?
Not a question, but I just want to express my thanks and gratitude to the Jaski family. They live in Ward 1, and they are prominent members of the agricultural community in Northampton for this restriction on their land.
Thank you. Okay, so this is an order. It does not require any action by us at this time. Though if there's interest and no objection, we could consider suspending rules, but we certainly don't have to.
I mean, is there any reason why we wouldn't want to?
Not that I can think of, but I respect anyone's desire to have plenty of time to consider everything that comes before us. So,
well, I would say that I personally live right down the road from the meadows, and I love enjoying it. And the farmland is awesome. And I'd be willing to suspend the rules and vote on this tonight.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Perry and seconded by Councilor Moulton to suspend rules so that we may vote tonight. Is there any discussion on that? Councilor Maori.
I was just going to say, I'm comfortable with that as well. I have some concerns in general about dual-use solar and agriculture, but because this item does not take that up, I'm fine with voting tonight.
Okay, a roll call, please, on suspension of rules so we may vote tonight.
I'm sorry. I have concerns about that too. How does that tie into this APR? Or any APR generally?
So, Sarah just stated that in general, APR restrictions do allow dual-use solar, but this particular property owner has requested that there be no APR. No dual-use solar allowed in this APR. So there will be no dual-use solar allowed on these 13.8 acres.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please, on suspension of rules so that we may vote tonight.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Rothenberg.
Yes.
Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Elkins.
Yes.
Councilor Jarrett.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
And Councilor Moulton.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Maori and seconded by Councilor Clemmer. Is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, on approval.
Councilor Rothenberg.
Yes.
Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Elkins.
Yes.
Councilor Jarrett.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Moulton.
Yes.
And Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Okay, that 25.337 passes unanimously.
Great, thanks so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, we just have two more items on the agenda. They are both ordinances that are not yet referred. So they are 25.335, an ordinance relative to stop control on Bedford Terrace, and 25.336, an ordinance relative to stop control at various locations. These have both received a positive recommendation from the Transportation and Parking Commission where they were generated. And for the first one, stop control on Bedford Terrace, this intersection is at an angle and it has a wide turning area, so it was recommended by a consultant to put a stop sign there for the city's liability and safety. And also, as part of improvements in the area, the intersection is going to be tightened up, making the crossing distance shorter and preventing people from taking the turn too quickly. For 25.336, it is putting in a stop sign at one side, at Corticelli and Pine. One side of Corticelli has a stop sign and the other doesn't, so it's just a missing stop sign in the code. And then an all-way stop at Audubon, Mulberry, and River Roads. and also an all-way stop at Blackberry Lane and Prospect Avenue. This intersection also has the private street Warburton Way, which already has a stop sign. Is there discussion? And then we would need to refer this to legislative matters. And I would suggest we refer them as a group. Councilor Rothenberg.
How much did we spend to have a consultant recommend a stop sign?
That's a question that we could ask. So that we've hired consultants to assess many different stop signs and the engineering around that all around the city. These are some of them. We've also had some. So it's done as a package. So I'm not sure if the amount, which I'm sure we can get in between now and when we vote, is for us. That you could pin it to a specific stop sign, but I'm sure we can get a total of, the figure for all of the engineering work that the DPW has. And would that be possible to just get a figure for the engineering work we've done with regard to, because I know that this is a particular project. There's a report. It has many, many recommendations. And I imagine there's a contract for that.
Sure, we can get that total, but as you said, I'm not sure we could figure out per stop sign.
Right. Councilor Moulton.
And to be clear, it's not just assessing the need for stop signs. It's looking at intersections and the traffic control measures in general.
Right. Different intersections have received different recommendations.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
We can talk about this more, as it makes its way through council. But the stop signs involved in my ward, the Cortelli and the Audubon, Mulberry Reservoir River, I've done a lot of outreach, and I've gotten overwhelming support on them. And just in case it's not clear, this has already gone to transportation parking.
Councilor Moulton.
And yes, to speak to the four-way stop at Blackberry and Prospect, well, it's actually a three-way stop for the city because, as Council President said, Warburton Way, which is private, already has a stop sign. I've talked to Director Lascalia about this. One of the there are two underlying reasons that why I would support this. One is it's very close to Prospect Place, which will be opening soon. The new housing on the old nursing home on Bridge Road, which is going to increase traffic in that neighborhood. And then secondly, I have received a lot of complaints about speeding on Prospect Avenue, and the stops on Prospect will help to mitigate that speeding. So yes, I'm supportive of this three-way, new city three-way stop there.
Any other comments before we vote to refer? Okay, I would entertain a motion to refer these as a group to legislative matters.
I would move to refer these as a group to legislative matters.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Perry and seconded by Councilor Clemmer. Is there any discussion on referral? Okay, Councilor Rothenberg.
I would like, when you look at it, to look at some of the places in Ward 3 when you're looking into the consultant fees and all of that and the traffic studies, and tell me what they've done for places like Phillips Place and whether it's equal. You just said the nursing home will bring more traffic. I don't think we see that same kind of care in our neighborhoods, and I'd like to know if you could compare it while you're looking at it.
Okay, roll call please on referral.
Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Elkins.
Yes.
Councilor Jarrett.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Moulton.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
And Councilor Rothenberg.
Yes.
Okay, that referral passes unanimously. And are there any information requests or new business? Okay, I would entertain a motion to
I move
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Perry and seconded by Councilor Clemmer. Roll call, please, on adjournment.
Councilor Elkins.
Yes.
Councilor Jarrett.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Rothenberg,
Yes.
and Counselor Dobbs.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned. See you in 2 weeks.